So what is Todd wanting this stuff for? Johnson.
He's asked every meeting. Town.
You can come through with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Waxhaw Board of Commissioners for January 22nd, 2019. If you would all please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. I have no modifications to the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, public hearing for Maida Arbor Drive General Rezoning Petition RZ 008047 2018. Alex? Welcome.
Hello, everyone. We'll wait for the slides.
In conclusion.
Yeah, I'm done. All right. So this is petition RZ 008047 2018, which is a request by John Maida for a general use town rezoning / map amendment from R3, which is single family residential, to UN, urban neighborhood, on approximately 0.203 acres, located at 427 Arbor Drive, just southeast of the intersection with McCain Street. So this is an aerial map of the property. You can see Arbor Drive and Waxhaw Elementary to the north. The current zoning is R3, which is the green color, and UN is the teal color. So you can see that this one is surrounded by R3 with UN just to the north. The proposed zoning is UN. The future land use map indicates that the property and all of the surrounding properties are G4 downtown residential. So the future land use comes from the comprehensive plan, and zoning comes from our UDO. And because there's kind of a mismatch of what the designations and the zoning are, the comprehensive plan policy bridge document kind of was the hybrid between those two. So in the comprehensive policy bridge document, it says that G4 residential is equal and comparable to UN. So this is consistent with the comprehensive plan in that way. So at the planning board, they voted 6-2 to table the recommendation until the next meeting for additional information. After the planning board meeting, staff discovered that there's a general statute that states that the case may be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners in 30 days. And our UDO is currently statutorily uncompliant and says 45 days. So you'll see a text amendment actually at the next meeting to revise that text. Staff has presented staff presented at the planning board that the rezoning was contingent on the McCain rezoning, but after advisement, the town attorney stated that that wasn't the case. Both cases had standing on their own without the threat of spot zoning. So with that, staff recommends approval of the proposed general rezoning because the UN district is consistent with the G4 downtown residential designation of the comp plan and policy bridge document and is suitable to the surrounding area and harmonious with the character of that area. And with that, the requested actions, a motion to approve the petition as presented, and a motion for reasonableness and consistency.
So we have no one signed up to speak. Does the applicant wish to speak? Okay. Any questions for Alex?
I have some questions. I have just a couple questions. Why was the planning board not able to come to a recommendation? Why did they decide to table?
So it'll be really transparent at the next case, but I'm going to talk about it here, and I'll probably repeat myself a little at the next one. But there were some discussions, there was some argument about access that they didn't feel that the easement that is serving the other one would be suitable to the UDO. And then they did feel that there was a risk of spot zoning, and at the time staff did believe that they were contingent upon each other, which actually wasn't the case after advisement from the attorney. So those two things kind of made the case very confusing. The planning board also, because there was so much relationship in their eyes between the two cases, ran the discussion simultaneously, which was actually in violation of the agenda and also made it very confusing. So at the time, the best advisement was just to table it, and they didn't have time in retrospect to meet before the decision, so that's why it's before you today.
Okay, so the additional information you said that they wanted, do we have that now? Is that what you were talking about, that it's not spot zoning?
Right,
Is that
exactly.
additional
We
information?
were able to consult with the attorney and provide that information to clarify that those points were valid.
Okay, can I ask you, why wasn't this originally UN?
Because at the time, I believe, R3 came before the downtown code where UN was applied, so that's why it was R3.
When the downtown code was applied and it came very close to this area, do you have any idea why it wasn't extended this far?
I'm not familiar with that. That was before my time, so sorry.
Can you tell me what the benefit is to town to making this UN as opposed to R3? How does that benefit town?
The future land use outlines the vision for growth in the community, and that's actually a more recent document than the UDO.
Okay.
So in proposing UN, it makes it consistent with the future land use and is what the intent of that land will be based on what it was decided in 2016 when the comp plan was initiated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all my questions.
So this was R3 from many, many, many years ago. So it's just as carried with the property. In answer to your question about the benefit of the town, this is one of the small lots, and I think it comes in at like 10,000 square feet. And if you used R3 and all the setbacks, you'd basically be building a manufactured trailer environment there. That's all you'd have left, because I think it's 80 feet, 85 feet, and you got a 30-foot setback and a 30-foot. You wouldn't be able to put much on it at all. You wouldn't be able to put residential that we're trying to get. It wasn't intuitively obvious there. That's why I went and dug on those setbacks, and it really, it's one of those small parcels that's left. So,
Where exactly is this property?
I'll go back to the aerial. It's Waxhaw Elementary is just.
I was thinking it was the old school. I don't know why.
So that's that's Waxhaw Elementary, yeah.
That's the south.
South Providence.
South Providence.
South Providence.
Yeah.
South Providence.
Okay, I got you.
Questions on this side?
No, I'm good. You explained everything.
And so with that then, with no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is action on, public hearing for Maida McCain Street General Rezoning Petition RZ 00804-2018. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alex.
So this is petition RZ 008-048-2018, which is also a request by John Maida for a general use town rezoning from R3 to UN on .231 acres located on McCain Street, which is just southwest of the intersection with Arbor Drive. This is the aerial map, so you can see it's catty corner to the property we were just discussing. Current zoning is again R3 with UN just adjacent to it and surrounded by R3 on all other sides. The proposed zoning would be UN, so that would be consistent with across the street. And future land use is again G4 downtown residential. So initially, the planning board voted 5-3 to send an unfavorable recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. And then because of the confusion and the call for more information, the decision was actually made to rescind the recommendation and vote until the next meeting. So then it was voted 6-2 to rescind the unfavorable recommendation. And so that again, after the planning board meeting, the staff discovered the error in our UDO and the statutory uncompliance. And staff had presented the Arbor Drive rezoning as contingent, which led to a lot of the confusion during the discussions. And access was a conversation because it has just an access easement to get to the property, and we did decide that that was sufficient and compliant with the UDO requirements, and the town attorney acknowledged that that was valid access. So staff recommends approval of the proposed general rezoning because UN is keeping with the G4 downtown residential and is compatible with the surrounding area. Any The motion to approve as presented is the requested action, as well as the reasonableness and consistency statement.
Okay, we have nobody signed up to speak, but would the applicant like to speak? Okay. Questions?
Yep.
Commissioner Earl.
It's the comment and maybe a question, but the comment, and it really goes back to your question, Kat, about why this wasn't zoned UN originally. That was sort of an arbitrary decision to outline the boundaries of downtown for the downtown code. I was on the planning board at the time, and there's no real reason. It just happened that way. My question and comment going forward is, when you look at the R3 area of these lots down there, it's almost the exact same boundary as the comprehensive plan's UN. As we move forward with a new UDO, would it be appropriate then to do as you said, take those R3 lots in the new UDO and make them urban neighborhood? It would make sense at that time.
You'll see some differences in the zoning classifications because the zoning is very out to date to what the future land use calls for, so the action is definitely to put those in line with each other.
Right. That was it.
Other questions? Commissioner West?
Ask a question to the attorney. Would there be any legal implications to the town for if we turn down a zoning request when this is in the future land use plan?
What is within the general health, safety, and welfare of the community is for this legislative body to determine. And so you would have to have just a reason that's based on what zoning will or will not authorize you to make those decisions on, like traffic density, the general things that zoning is all about. If this board felt that one of those items just simply was not what this land should be, then you have absolutely any determination, you have the right to make that. But you would have to give a reason later under your reasonableness and consistency as to why it is unreasonable, because it's apparently very consistent with your comprehensive plan. So the only area where you would have would be some kind of feeling that reasonableness, it may be compliant with the comprehensive plan, but it's unreasonable, and why you would say it's unreasonable based on the facts of this proposed development.
Just correction. This is just zoning, so we don't have a proposed development in front of us.
Well, I mean, right.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's proposed use at this time, this
Right.
district.
Use,
zoning
yes.
district, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along to old business. Action on the first rezoning, Maid Arbor Drive General Rezoning Petition RZ 00804/7/2018. You've gone through the presentation and the recommendation. What would the board like to do with this?
I'll make the motion to approve general rezoning petition RZ-008047-2018 as presented, assigning the UN zoning to tax parcel ID 05-115-055.
We have a motion to approve the general rezoning. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-1. Could you please, yes,
Certainly.
could you please then make the motion for reasonableness and consistency?
I'd like to make the motion to approve the reasonableness and consistency statement that reads, the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future planning goals of the town of Waxhaw, and is reasonable and in the public interest as it will provide an urban scale density consistent with the G4 downtown residential future land use designation as recommended by the Waxhaw Comprehensive Plan and the Comprehensive Plan Bridge Policy.
We have a motion on the table for the reasonableness and consistency. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Next item, action on the Maida McCain Street General Rezoning Petition RZ 008048-2018. We had the presentation and the recommendation. What would we like to do with it?
I will make the motion to approve general rezoning petition RZ-008048-2018 as presented, assigning UN zoning to tax parcel ID 05-115-053.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the general rezoning petition. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. And then would you make the motion for reasonableness and consistency?
I'd like to make the motion to approve the reasonableness and consistency statement that reads, the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and future planning goals of the town of Waxhaw and is reasonable and in the public interest as it will provide an urban scale density consistent with the G4 downtown residential future land use plan designation as recommended by the Waxhaw Comprehensive Plan and the Comprehensive Plan Bridge Policy.
We have a motion to approve the reasonableness and consistency statement as read. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1. We have no new business. We do have general public comments. Mr. Earl Cook. 8115 Denholm Drive. You are a resident, and you will be limited to 3 minutes.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, Clerk, Chief, Attorney, and Mr. Ferguson. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. You know, most of the time you don't get to hear a lot of positive comments or compliments, and that's what my next 2 minutes are. I have been a keen observer of the town and involved a lot over the last dozen years, and I've seen a lot of plans, charrettes, talk, discussion. But the workshop that I sat through this afternoon, for me, was the most positive thing I've seen. Urban Land Institute, a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization made up of a very diverse field of experts ranging from economic development, real estate, town planning, all of those things. I was impressed. They gave a very precise, concise presentation on steps that Waxhaw could use to move forward in the future. I really liked it because it was very future-oriented. There wasn't a lot of living in the past nor any of that looking back over the shoulder. Most of the things that they discussed have been mentioned in some way or other in the past. Parking, farmers market, the town's real estate, but they gave options. They gave very good options. They used examples of other towns that have been through this. Morganton, for example, and there are several others. Waxhaw, as a Main Street community, has moved along quite well in the last 10 years. But there's still a long way to go. Now, a couple of things that I really want to mention. I think Mr. Greg Ferguson, the town manager, he's the person that I understand brought the Urban Land Institute here and was the driver behind this. And we should pay attention and think about and consider all of those options. But what really struck me was it was a level of maturity. Those ideas that have been talked about and plans that have been stuck on the shelf, this brought an element of mature conversation. So what I would caution commissioners and the public, all of this requires civil discussion. It requires in-depth thinking about a very complex and interrelated community as it grows. You know, when you remodel a house, it's really a mess at first. I don't know anyone that 3 days into a remodeling project said, I love it like this. But the end result is always worth it. So those changes that ULI presented, I guarantee as soon as the first comment hits Facebook,
3 minutes.
there will be a big fiasco. So please.
Thank you.
Stay the course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Town leadership reports. We'll start with the manager. Any updates, Manager Ferguson?
Just have three quick ones, and we don't have a slot. We do have a slot, but I'm not going to throw it up there. Waxhaw 101 still has a few spots, so if you haven't put in an application for that, do that, and we look forward to filling that class fairly soon. As we mentioned, there's just a little bit longer to do leaf vacuuming. The last day is January 28th, so if you have not addressed your leaves, have them out 7 a.m. on the 28th of this month. And the third, something that's a good thing to hear is we've got a project that's at the end of the road. Town Creek Park now, if you've noticed, has got the orange fencing down, and even though we've not had a celebration of sorts, there probably have been some people on it over the weekend, even though it was cold. We're going to try to schedule a celebration of an opening event for that redeveloped area with the shelter and the playground there, so stay tuned for that. We'll try to do that in the not so far future and celebrate that, because it's not a huge facility, but it's another place for our residents to gather, spend some time, in addition to the recently made improvements to the skate park. So we want to do that here in the near future.
Any questions for the manager? Thank you. We'll go, commissioners will go alphabetical. Commissioner Burns, any comments? Commissioner Burrow?
Fine, thank you.
Commissioner Lee?
Nope.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan?
Nope.
Commissioner Wesley? Just three quick things. I did send Greg a note on the weekend about Town Creek Park. As my wife's to-do list for me has me going in and out of the neighborhood very frequently on the bottom end of Prescott on Saturdays. It was phenomenal to see the WAA having all of their lacrosse practices out there, kids playing on the swing set, parents sitting at the picnic table, people coming across the street, using the path and the walkways. And what struck me was that's a vision that started back in 2005, 2006 from the planning department, and actually putting in the conditional use plan that you will build a park for the town and it will become something that's shared with the community. So it took 13 years, but job well done. I mean, it shows the power of a vision. Couple things transportation wise. We did not get approved for the Waxhaw Parkway. There were 29 projects submitted. 11 were funded. The Parkway was number 12. We will need to make a decision as to, by August or September, if we wish to submit it for the next round of funding. That starts again in August. One alternative that has been suggested are maybe we go and ask for planning funds. The process for that would start in August. And to be honest, right now there are no funds being provided by the federal government for funding. It's primarily directed towards actual construction projects, but that could change by August. We don't know yet. And with that, not the best news, but it's going to give us a chance to talk about transportation. DOT announced 19 projects have received that infamous sentence that begins to assist in balancing funds. We are going to delay this or delay that. Construction on Highway 16 has the start date has moved from. They've moved to 1 year out, fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24, to assist in the balancing of funds. I reached out to our legislative contingent to ask them to do a deeper dive as to what's going on, because that's 19 projects in our transportation organization. Can you imagine the impact statewide? Interestingly enough, they had not heard that until I gave it to them, so they were happy that they had heard it and not gotten surprised by it, but they're questioning what's going on too. So hopefully we'll get more information on that. Other than that, I have nothing else, and so entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?